All right, thank you everybody for coming. We're going to get started. My name is Deanna Fox. I'm the president of Duanesburg Community Parent-Teacher Association, and we're the group putting on Meet the Candidates tonight. So thank you everybody for coming. Real quick housekeeping, you see the exits, one here, one here, one here, one behind us, if you need them. Questions, most of you have submitted questions already if you have questions for the candidates. If you have questions during the event, we're hoping to keep questions in the audience at a minimum just to keep everything running smoothly, but if you do have questions, please just raise your hand and Christina in the back will come around and she'll bring you a pen and a card and you can fill out your question and we'll bring them to the question checkers. The event tonight should run until about 8 o'clock, the question and answer portion of the evening tonight. And then we have refreshments out front in that big purple tent you saw walking in, cookies, coffee, water. That gives you an opportunity to speak with the candidates directly if you'd like to. And we hope that you'll be respectful and courteous to everybody. And we'll drink lots of coffee and cookies, so don't take any of it home. Cheryl with League of Women Voters, and we have Ann and Sandra and Bill here with League of Women Voters tonight too. They are actually the people that have masterminded tonight's event. So many, many thanks to them. And Cheryl is going to be moderating tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl, and thank you everybody for coming, and hopefully it's a great event. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'm Cheryl Neckerman from the League of Women Voters of Schenectady County, and I'd like to thank the Duanesburg Community PTA for inviting the League to conduct the forum tonight. Just wanted to point out that the League is a nonpartisan organization. We put an emphasis on voting. We do not support or oppose parties or candidates. This evening, we will give you an opportunity to gather information about the candidates for the Duanesburg School District Board of Education to help you make voting decisions. All of the candidates who will be on the ballot on May 17th have been invited to tonight's forum, and we are thrilled that they all agreed to come tonight. These candidates are serving our community and participating in the democratic process by their willingness to run for office, and we really appreciate the time that they're putting into this. Now we have a few ground rules. We ask that no campaign signs, buttons, or literature be distributed in this room. Please take a look at it. Also, please silence your cell phones for the duration of the forum. We do not allow any video or audio recording or pictures. This event is being live streamed and recorded by the school district and can be viewed on the school district's website at a later date. Now, many of you have already submitted written questions, but if something strikes you while we're going through the forum, just raise your hand and someone will deliver a card for you to fill out and we'll collect that. Just hold up your cards. Those questions will be screened, and questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. And questions that fall in the same general category will be consolidated. There's often not enough time to cover all the issues, but we will try our hardest to cover them all. And please feel free to contact the candidates directly for more information, including right after the forum here. Now, the candidates will each have a 2-minute opening statement, 1 minute to answer each question, and a 1-minute closing statement. We have a timer who will hold up a yellow card when there are 30 seconds left, and a red card when it's time for the candidates to stop. Now, we'll allow you to finish your sentence, but try not to really take advantage of that. And we will change the order of the candidates, so who goes first. And we do ask that after each statement or question, please hold your applause until all candidates have spoken, and that way we can get to more questions tonight. So attendees are asked to maintain an appropriate level of noise and maintain a safe and peaceful demeanor in accordance with DCS visitor policies. Any attendee unable to follow these rules will be asked to leave the event, but I know that's not going to happen, right? We're all here because we care about our children. Okay. Let me introduce the candidates. We have Diane Grant, Sarah Wazdowski, Andrew Huth, Julie Lind, and Ava Sanchez. And we'll have Diane Grant give the opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Grant, and I am rerunning for school board because I love giving to my community. I volunteered at DVAC to learn how to better protect our community, and I've served many of you fish dinners. I run Booster Club to support our students and athletes. I worked with the zoning board and learned about town ordinances and local government. I ran for town board to learn about how Duanesburg is run as a business and how to protect our community as a whole, and I'm currently on the town board. I originally ran for school board 3 years ago because I wanted to learn how the school functions as a whole. And serving as a school board member for almost 3 years, I have listened, researched, and contributed to decisions that affect our school. Some decisions keep our kids safe, some change our school for the better, and some are based on mandates or recommendations from New York State. I am rerunning for school board to continue to work on a path to provide great things for our future. We have some great plans, and I want to be part of those plans. With all that I have been involved in around our town, it helps me to understand how we need to help our children and what they need to be prepared for. Many of you have reached out to me on many occasions regarding different aspects of our community, and I have listened and helped in every way I felt appropriate. I will continue to be here for you. Thank you for your support.
Okay, and Ms. Krustowski.
Good evening, Duanesburg parents, students, and residents. My name is Sarah Wazdowski. I bring value, experience, and insight as a school board candidate. I'm a mother of 3 young children. My oldest currently attends DCS Elementary. I have consistently been in attendance of the Board of Ed meetings for the past 6 months. I have 7 years of experience working for New York State as a contract management specialist, where I manage contracts at the state level for New York State procurement services. My position required me to understand, interpret New York State laws, policies, and procedures. During this time, I became very well versed in New York State open meetings law. Recently, numerous issues have come to light in our school district. I am aware that current leadership is following recommendations and guidance of the New York State Department of Education and BOCES. The guidance our administration is receiving is not law. The guidance our administration is going by the New York State Board of Ed has been confirmed that they are recommendations and simply recommendations. The decisions are still at the school district's level to decide and implement. The equity policy has become very divisive. Based on this fact, I'm asking you, why is the current DCS leadership fighting so hard to keep and grow the equity policy in our school? Why are the superintendent and librarian the ones who get to decide that our children should have access to adult content books, which contain pornography and pedophilia without parental consent? As a concerned parent, I'm stepping up to be part of the solution. My pledge as a candidate for the Board of Ed is to support parental rights, better communication, transparency, and truth.
Thank you. Mr. Huth.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out on a beautiful night tonight. I've spent the last 30 years in education. I've taught K through 12. I've also taught at FMCC, Albany School of Pharmacy, and my greatest pride and joy was teaching at Hamilton Fulton Montgomery Career and Tech Center for the last 15 years out in Johnstown. There we established a very rigorous program in any curriculum that we taught, whether it was construction to photography, and we spearheaded a lot of things that state ed followed our curriculum on. So I'd like to read a passage. We will provide students of every ability the support, dedication, quality instruction, and experiences that they need as they strive to fulfill their dreams and aspirations. That's exactly what I did in my classroom for 30 years. What I didn't realize is that Duanesburg's Board of Ed actually adopted that as their DCS forward, and that's their mission statement, and that's why I want to be a part of this school board.
Thank you, Mr. Huth. Ms. Lind?
Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Lind. My husband Dan and I live in the district with our two children. Anna's 6th grade and Nathaniel's in 9th grade. I am really happy and proud to be one of the 5 community members seeking 2 open seats on the Board of Education. I'm pleased that so many of you have come out tonight to this event to hear from us and get your questions answered. And I'm proud to live in this beautiful community for almost 20 years. It's a community where we strive to provide what's best for the children of our school district now and in the future. Of course, there's going to be differences in what we think is best, and I hope our discussions will help you learn our positions on issues that are important to you. I just want to thank the current school board, Melissa and Francis, Tony, Teresa, Shane, Diane, and Deb for your service and commitment, and the school administrators, teachers, and staff for all that you do every day. Thanks to the PTA and to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to Sarah and Andy and Ava and Diane for your desire to serve. School board members are the community voice, guiding and setting policy and priorities for the district. Ultimately, the school achieves its mission with that help. Members of the school board have a unique perspective, being outside of the day-to-day operations of the school, but steering the course of the district for the future. This can be a challenging place, and I understand there is going to be difference of opinions in how we would steer that ship. I don't have all the answers, and I don't even believe I, on my own, have the best answers. It's going to take every one of the 7 school board members to work together in harmony. And I can do that. I can express my opinion, and I can listen to yours, and I can listen to a variety of opinions, and I can find consensus. So I would appreciate your vote on next Tuesday.
Thank you. And Ms. Sanchez?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ava Sanchez. I've been a resident of Duanesburg for about 17 years. I am happily married to my husband, Andy, for almost 18 years now. And I have 2 beautiful children. One is in middle school and one is in high school. I am running for school board because I've seen the downside of implementing equity and the effects of bullying in school. I'm going to give you an example. My husband is a great example. He was born and raised in New York City, and he is a light-skinned, green-eyed, Puerto Rican Sephardic Jew. When he was a baby, many thought his mother was his nanny because she had a dark skin tone. As my husband grew older, he had difficulty with fitting in with white children, Black children, and even Hispanic children. He was bullied throughout his childhood, and to add to that, kicked and beaten. However, if he had lived in Puerto Rico, he would have been treated like royalty due to his light skin and green eyes. In Puerto Rico, if you are light-skinned, you are most likely well off due to better opportunities. As my husband grew older, he went to Job Corps, which the stereotype is for undisciplined children, but that was not the case for him. He started that to move out of New York City, went to Schenectady, so he lived in Amsterdam, Schenectady, and Albany. In all 3 areas, he had issues with discrimination. When my husband was deployed, we purchased a house in Duanesburg. I love the area because of the great community, and I had a friend who lived here most of her life. The whole point of me telling the story about my husband, I guess I'm done.
Well, thank you for adhering to the time limit, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start our questions, and the first question will go to Ms. Krustowski. If elected to the Board of Education, how do you feel you would work with the superintendent and other sitting board members?
If I was elected to the board, I think I would work well with the superintendent and board members. I realize that even though people have different values, they have different views and convictions, that we're all still people first, and everybody has value as being a human being. So that would be utmost and forefront. There's also, the importance of bringing different opinions to the table to keep things more balanced and to make our democracy work and have everybody feel like they have some kind of voice in what's being discussed at the table, whether it's in the community, the schools, state level, or federal level. I'm also a good listener. I've definitely worked on developing and cultivating that trait, but when you're a mom, you kind of learn how to listen and reason, and your patience is tried. But I think all of those skill sets that I would bring to the table would make me somebody that would be able to work well with everybody on the board and the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hughes, if elected to the Board of Education, how do you feel you would work with the superintendent and other sitting board members?
Well, first of all, I'd have to beg for the other board members' advice on things. Obviously, I've never been on a school board before. I don't know exactly how everything works. Dealing with superintendents, again, being a teacher for 33 or 30 years, that was my privilege to be able to work with superintendents. Quite oftentimes, there's a lot to be learned from state law that I, as a teacher, never had a chance or an opportunity or even a need to necessarily know. But with that, having conversation with superintendents quite often steered me in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lind, if elected to the Board of Education, how do you feel you would work with the superintendent and other sitting board members?
So I've had a lot of opportunities professionally to work in groups and committees and, at my church as well. And one thing that I really try to do is, especially if there's difference of opinion, is really try to listen. I think that's the most important thing in communication, is really being a good listener and getting into the thoughts and framework of the person that you're listening to. And I think that's empathy. And so I really try to listen to where someone's coming from and not try to say what's right and wrong or good and bad. But if I can listen to someone and really understand them, then I think I can do a good job bringing us together. I think I can build consensus from what we can mutually agree on. I've been able to do that in a lot of different opportunities. And I do truly believe what I said in my opening statement, that collaboration and working together in harmony on a board is going to get us the best outcome. So I appreciate when I work with people that have different opinions. I want to hear that, and I want us to be comfortable with one another so we can really kind of hash things out. We're representing the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Sanchez, if elected to the Board of Education, how do you feel you would work with the superintendent and other sitting board members?
I think I would personally do well. I have 20 years of HR experience. I've dealt with supervisors, managers, and I've dealt with some customers that might be irate because of pay of some sort. I have the ability to look at every point, everybody's point, I should say, and be an active listener. I do listen and take into consideration their thoughts and feelings. And I mean, if I am elected, I will look forward to working with the current school board and the superintendent.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sanchez. And the next question, we are going to start with Mr. Hughes. Do you support banning books that do? Oh, I am so sorry. And I thought I was doing so good. Okay. Ms. Grant, if elected to the Board of Education, how do you feel you would work with the superintendent and other sitting board members?
Well, I am currently serving with the board and the superintendent, and we do have a difference in opinions on some things, and it's important to talk to one another and work it out. We are respectful of each other's views. There's been situations where I reached out to stakeholders in the community and asked them for thoughts and concerns that they had about certain things that were going on. I brought it back to the table. Had conversations independently with the superintendent and independently with some of our board members, and it was nice for us to come to a decision together to do what we had to do to make things work for the benefit of our students and our school.
Okay, now we're ready for the next question. Mr. Hughes, do you support banning books that do not fit in a special political view?
No. This is America, and we should have books that support different political views.
Okay. Ms. Lynn, do you support banning books that do not fit in a special political view?
I agree with Andy. I don't see a place for that. I think reading and literature really can open up kids' minds to different cultures and experiences and ways of life. And I think it's very valuable, especially books that are written in first person so you can really understand. And I think that the policy we have at Duanesburg for how to look at literature and books, and I think it's solid. I was looking at it the other day. You know, it would go to the superintendent and the librarian and the building principal to look at that challenging material and make a decision if they think it's something that should get into the hands of our kids. So I would want to look at that in a lot more detail.
Thank you. And Ms. Sanchez, do you support banning books that do not fit in a special political view?
Political view, can I ask, I don't know if you have an answer for it, political view in what manner, as far as?
However you want to define it.
Okay, all right. I think it's fine for children to read books with political views, but I do not think it's appropriate for children to read books such as The Lawn Boy by Ava Sanchez. That is an inappropriate book that reflects pornography in it. Even though it's in a cartoon manner, it is still inappropriate for children. And that's it.
Okay. Ms. Grant, do you support banning books that do not fit in a special political view?
No, I do not support banning books. I think there's a lot of viewpoints out there. We need to look at them all, and we need to work together and be able to speak to one another. And, you know, sometimes reading a book that has a different viewpoint can open your eyes to understand different ways that people live and people do things. And it's freedom of speech. We need to be able to read our books. I mean, if you don't want to read them, you just choose not to read that book.
Thank you. Ms. Krustowski, do you support banning books that do not fit in a special political view?
No, I do not support banning books. This is America, and we have freedom. We have freedom to write from different perspectives. We have the freedom to read them or not read them. And I support our Second Amendment right to freedom of speech. First Amendment, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Lynn. What do you feel is the role of a board member? What are the primary responsibilities?
Okay, well, I know board members need to work on adopting and maintaining the policy and basically overseeing the district's priorities, affairs, carrying out the mission, which Andy had read for us earlier, which I love, the mission to provide students with every ability to support dedication, quality instruction, and experiences they need as they strive to fulfill their dreams and aspirations. I really like the priorities that are set out in the DCS forward, prioritizing academic achievement, personal development, facilities and finances, culture, partnership, and communication. So that's a big part of what the board needs to do, is just make sure we're moving those things forward, develop the budget, present it to the community, and really of utmost importance to uphold strong moral standards. So that's, for me, in a nutshell, what I perceive and what I've learned that the Board of Education would be responsible for.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez, what do you feel is the role of a board member? What are the primary responsibilities?
The primary responsibilities of the school board is to make determinations such as budget and policies, which I have extensive experience in. I have experience with editing, reviewing, and creating policies. But that's mainly their responsibility. Basically, the superintendent will provide information on something that he may want to improve or something that needs to be changed. and the school board would review it. It is some things, because I know this from New York State Department of Education. They do not mandate schools to implement policies. It's actually the superintendent says, this is what I'm looking for, and the board makes a determination.
Thank you. And Ms. Grant, what do you feel is the role of a board member? What are the primary responsibilities?
The responsibilities of a board member is that we oversee district affairs, personnel, and properties. We approve the budget. We review policies, and we hire and fire the superintendent. We have several committees that we must be a part of. No committee has authority to make any decisions. They make recommendations to the board. I have been on the Building and Grounds Committee, where we prioritize projects that need to be handled based on necessity and funding. I've been on the Audit Committee, where I meet with the auditor and review our financial stability. I was on the Employee Relations Committee that reviewed DESA and DTA contracts for renewal. And there are a few other committees. There's the Education Committee, the Policy Committee, and the Public Relations Committee.
Thank you. Ms. Krustowski, what do you feel is the role of a board member? What are the primary responsibilities?
I think as a board member, I think the main responsibility would be to listen, because I feel like as a board member, you're bridging the gap between the parents and the community and the superintendent. So listening would be very important on that list. I believe that you also are responsible for adopting policies and asking questions with those policies. I know there's also budgetary responsibilities. And again, let's dig deep. Let's ask questions. What's in that budget? Not just a generalization, but people want to know where their tax money is being spent. And I would also say the board member's responsibility is, with all of those things I just discussed, to keep our children safe.
And Mr. Hughes, what do you feel is the role of a board member, and what are the primary responsibilities?
Educating our kids, helping provide the right environment for our students, making sure that from UPK all the way up to graduation, we are setting the right tone for our students, the community, the school district, the teachers, to help them implement the best environment that they can create for our kids. Hands down, you know, Diane knows all the nuts and bolts, and I love listening to her talk about all the different committees and everything. But to the crux of it, it is about our kids. And it's also about the community. The bigger part, working with the community. When I was out canvassing, I met so many great people, and everybody had so many great ideas and thoughts and concerns. And to be able to be that middleman, that person that's able to bring the community thought to the school board, to the superintendent, to again, do the one thing, teach our kids.
Thank you. And the next question, we'll start with Ms. Sanchez. Some candidates have indicated children do not feel safe in our schools. Can you elaborate on these safety issues and how you propose to address them?
I think bullying is a big thing, especially, I don't think it's just in our school. I think it's in quite a few schools. I do know from personal experience that when the school calls you and says, your kid did this, I've noticed that the teachers or principal or whoever it is that calls didn't ask why the child did something. And for me, I have a problem with that, because I need to know the whole story. I need to know what exactly happened. But there are times where there's a bully and the bully hurts another child, and maybe the other child hits the bully back, but that child that was hit gets in trouble for it. So I think what I would do is implement a better policy to remove bullying. I know they have PBIS, but I think it can be improved.
Thank you. And Ms. Grant, some candidates have indicated children do not feel safe in our schools. Can you elaborate on these safety issues and how you propose to address them?
So I've experienced on both sides where my kids have been bullied and witnessing other kids be bullied. And from my experience, I feel like there's more questions that need to be asked. I'm more concerned about like why there's this going on in the school and where it's coming from. And we do have some mental health providers in our school that can assist with that, but we need to dig deep and find out really what the main reason is that we're having the issues in the first place. I know that we're having issues with a few kids not getting along with one another, but I don't know what the true reasoning is for that. And if we ask more questions and get together, and I'm a big advocate for the kids and making sure that everyone is kind to one another, and we might just have to work harder together and find out what we need to do to make it happen.
Thank you. Ms. Wazdowski, some candidates have indicated children do not feel safe in our schools. Can you elaborate on these safety issues and how you propose to address them?
Well, without knowing specifically what children they were and what the safety concerns were, it kind of seems to lend itself that it's probably bullying. So I would say that, that's a hard thing because you don't really know what home life that child comes from and what they might be carrying over as that hurt into school and trying to make themselves feel more powerful in an area where they can. I am aware that bullying is happening in school, but it's also carrying over into the cyber arena. And with everyone having their phones, that's going to be a really hard one to address, I think, at the school level. But it's something that I think the parents in the community and the children should all come together and discuss where these problems are happening. And that way we can have a better idea of how to address them and, if needed, to implement a policy from there.
Thank you. Mr. Huth, some candidates have indicated children do not feel safe in our schools. Can you elaborate on these safety issues and how you propose to address them?
Well, the federal government enacted the DASA Act, and I believe that was in 2010. Don't quote me on that, but it was back a while. DASA stands for Dignity for All Students Act. That's still in effect, and that's still a policy that we're supposed to uphold in every school district. There should be a DASA compliance person in the district. I wouldn't call him a DASA compliance officer, but it's probably a faculty member who would be in charge of that. And all that's supposed to be followed by the letter of that law, that DASA Act, to make sure that we're trying to maintain the dignity, again, for every student. A lot of questions always need to be answered when there's conflict. I had a friend say to me one time, there's 2 stories in every house. There's always going to be 2 versions of a story, and sometimes we're going to have to know how to dig deep for those answers.
Thank you. And Ms. Lynn, some candidates have indicated children do not feel safe in our schools. Can you elaborate on these safety issues and how you propose to address them?
So I agree with Andy. The Dignity for All Students Act, I think, is something that we can use as a framework really for how to address those issues. So seeking to provide the state public elementary and secondary schools with a safe and supportive environment free of discrimination, intimidation, taunting, harassment, and bullying on school property, a school bus, and at a school function. So I'm thinking of just really trying to engage more people. Our school resource officer, the building principals, the teachers, the parents, to try to have more conversations about this, because that's not okay, that kids are not feeling safe in these schools. That's number one. Think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Safety is right after, one of the most important things. You have to feel safe. You're not going to be able to learn. You're not going to be able to grow. You're not going to get to your full potential if you don't feel safe. So that's concerning.
Thank you. And we are going to start with Ms. Grant for the next question. There are many questions regarding critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equitable treatment of students. Please discuss your feelings on these issues.
So I don't believe that the critical race theory is being taught in our school, nor would we ever want it to be taught in our school. As a school board member and a mother of students, one that has graduated already and one that is still in school, I would never advocate for that. Basically, the DEI policy was put in place to hold the school accountable, to protect all our kids and help them be successful in school, and to help them to prepare with whatever they want to do with their future. And it also follows along with our mission statement that we will provide students of every ability the support, education, quality instruction, and experiences they need as they strive to fulfill their dreams and aspirations for the future. And this policy holds the school accountable, has nothing to do with CRT.
Thank you. Ms. Krustowski, there are many questions regarding critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equitable treatment of students. Please discuss your feelings on these issues.
I do believe that CRT and DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, have glaring similarities. I, for one, have taken the time to read Communist Manifesto and to try to understand and dig deep how these may interrelate and how they parallel each other. When it comes to DEI and the policy at the school, I don't really have a problem with the D, the diversity. That's great. The I, inclusion, we all want to be included. But equity ensures that we all have the same outcome. Not necessarily that we have the same different levels of resources to help us, but the same outcome. So let me ask you, if you were to have surgery on your heart, do you want the equitable surgeon to be doing your surgery, or would you want the person that earned it and that went through the processes and got the best grades and knew what they were doing?
Mr. Hughes, there are many questions regarding critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equitable treatment of students. Please discuss your feelings on these issues.
Sure. Critical race theory, not at all in my school district. And I think that we would all agree with that. DEI I see as a separate topic. I don't see it as the same. So look, I'm going to be real with you. When I just retired from teaching midway through this year for family medical health reasons. I taught 4 classes. It may not sound like a lot, but it's 2.5 hours each class, 18 kids per class. I had an IEP population, 504 population of 20 to 25%. I had one student who was in a regular, or I'm sorry, at his homeschool was in an 8-1-1 classroom, 8 students, 1 teacher, 1 aide. They brought that student to my classroom with 18 other kids with another 19% IEPs. I had to find a way to include that student, and I did it. That's what DEI is.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn, there are many questions regarding critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equitable treatment of students. Please discuss your feelings on these issues.
In 1 minute. Sorry.
Talk fast.
I think the school board did good work this year, and I think the policy is something that we've always effort to achieve at Duanesburg. I don't think it's anything new. It creates a safe place for all students, all teachers, all faculty, all staff. It supports them to reach their potential. And that's also what equity is about. It's giving you what you need to be successful. And some of us are going to go on, some of the kids will go on and go to college. Some of them are going to go on and do trade school. Some are going to work. They get to set their goal. They need to figure out where they want to head. And it's our job as a school district to provide them what they need to get there. And that's exactly what it says again in our mission. So to me, they all tie in together. And that's what I want to say about that, I guess. I did it in less than a minute.
Okay. And Ms. Sanchez, there are many questions regarding critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equitable treatment of students. Please discuss your feelings on these issues.
Okay, actually, DEI was initiated back in the 1960s. So DEI has been around for a while. And then CRT was actually created in 2013. CRT wasn't very popular. So it was re-imaged into DEI, believe it or not. I've done my in-depth research on that. I am not against diversity or inclusion. I'm married to a Puerto Rican Sephardic Jew. I'm good with diversity. And inclusion, yeah, children and adults need to feel included. But the equity piece, I do not agree with. I agree with equality. Everybody deserves equal treatment.
Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Grant. You already did yours, okay.
It needs to start
Right,
with.
so we're starting with Ms.
Oh,
Wazdowski on the
yes.
next question. I will get the hang of this yet. Okay. Do you feel there should be a mask requirement and/or COVID vaccine requirement for students to attend Waynesburg schools? If so, at what transmission rate should these requirements be enforced?
No, I don't agree on a mandate for mask wearing or for a vaccine. I believe that should be the decision of a parent, child, and their physician.
Thank you. It's taking longer to read the question than to answer. Mr. Hughes, do you feel there should be a mask requirement and/or COVID vaccine requirement for students to attend Duanesburg schools? If so, at what transmission rate should these requirements be enforced?
No, I disagree with that. I don't think it should be mandated. Although I do believe that my daughter, who's in first grade, well, sometimes she has allergies and she'll have a cold and she'll say, Dad, I want to wear my mask today. Okay, you can wear your mask today. I would appreciate it that the family physician, and the child or the student are able to make that decision together.
Thank you. Ms. Lynn, do you feel there should be a mask requirement and/or COVID vaccine requirement for students to attend Duanesburg schools? If so, at what transmission rate should these requirements be enforced?
It's a difficult question, and I know it's a controversial one. I'm very happy that we're at a place now where we don't have to talk about this as much as we did maybe a year or a year and a half ago. So it's difficult to kind of think about what would be all the things that would be going on when the school board would need to make that decision. So it's hard for me to say for sure what I would say or do, but I can say I appreciate how the board has handled it. I thought that the green, orange, yellow, red light thing was wise because it kind of let us loosen things up when we could and tighten things up when we had to. I also recognize that it really got taken out of the school administration and school board's hands for decision-making power on that. So I'm hoping that that would continue. So I don't think I'm giving you a very solid answer, but one that I think needs to kind of change as the information changes.
Okay. And Ms. Sanchez, do you feel there should be a mask requirement and/or COVID vaccine requirement for students to attend Duanesburg schools? If so, at what transmission rate should these requirements be enforced?
No, I do not think that there should be a mask or vaccination mandate. And my reasoning is it should be a parental right to determine whether or not their child wears a mask or gets vaccinated. The other thing is having a child, mandating children to wear a mask and get vaccinated creates fear. Why would we want to create fear in our children?
Okay, and we'll finish up with Ms. Grant on that question. Do you feel there should be a mask requirement and/or COVID vaccine requirement for students to attend Duanesburg schools? And if so, at what transmission rate should these requirements be enforced?
No, I don't believe there should be a mask mandate or a mandate for vaccines to attend Waynesburg schools. We've had some difficult times over the past couple of years, and we've had to come up with some difficult conversations at the school level. But in the end, we don't really make the decisions. It mostly comes from the Capitol or the governor. So unfortunately, we did have to follow some things that came from them. And we didn't have a choice.
Okay, and I think we have time for one more question, and we will start with Mr. Hughes. What unmet needs exist in our schools and community, and how would you address them?
Could you throw another curveball at me there? So what unmet needs do we have in the district? None that I'm aware of. Superintendent Niedermeyer shared with me the internal audit that they did of all the students. And that certainly came up with a couple of shortcomings. And I think the one that jumps out at me, I have twins, boy, girl, is that the high school girls didn't feel as appreciated as the boys. The girls had a higher a higher rate of going to college than the boys. And not that that's a horrible thing to have one higher than the other, but you know, if there's any unanswered topics, I don't know if trying to strike the gender balance is something that needs to, I mean, the study shows that it needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynn, what unmet needs exist in our schools and community, and how would you address them?
I think there is some division and maybe lack of transparency in some areas. I'd like to open that up a little bit more and maybe bring some key internal and external stakeholders to the table to have some more discussions as we're able to do that. The other thing that I think we need to really look at is just the mental health and wellness of our kids. And, you know, COVID was a tough thing for a lot of people and created a lot of social separation. And I'd like to see if there are ways that we could support the teachers. I know our teachers are very stressed. If we could support them more in really kind of coming right alongside kids and helping them get to the services that they need. And I know we offer a lot of those things. I just think there's some kids that are falling through the cracks there. And that might be an area that I would like to, you know, to think about a little bit more. My background is in children's mental health, so I have a good understanding of that. And she's trying to put the red up, but she's not going to do it because she thinks I keep wrapping up. I'll stop.
Okay, good. Now, Ms. Sanchez, what unmet needs exist in our schools and community, and how would you address them?
I think there is a communication issue between the community, parents, and the school district. I personally, if I am elected, I would like to create some type of chat forum, whether it's through Facebook or maybe the school website. I think that would be a great idea. Yes, the board answers as one, so maybe someone can be appointed to answer the questions. And most importantly, I just think in general, it's just important to have that open line of communication between parents, community members, and the school, because it does help keep our children safe.
Thank you. And Ms. Grant, what unmet needs exist in our schools and community, and how would you address them?
One of the things that I know that we struggle with here at Duanesburg is our special ed. We're constantly looking for ways to do better in that arena. As far as the school in particular, we've hired some new teachers, and we did hire an outside agency to help us with our deficiencies. So we did do research on that to help us, you know, bridge some gaps that we have going on, and we're going to continue to work on that. And I do agree with Ava that we do have some communication gaps as well, and we're constantly evolving and working on those things, because the whole thing with our community is we want to be transparent, and we do want to be able to have free communication with our parents and our teachers and even our school board.
Thank you. And Ms. Wazdowski, what unmet needs exist in our schools and community, and how would you address them?
I think the unmet needs are definitely that of communication and trust. And communication is the vehicle in order to have those conversations to build trust back. So I really think that that's something that's been lacking. I know things were difficult the last couple years with everything that's been going on in the world, but I definitely noticed as a parent a change in that dynamic, and I think that that needs to be rebuilt so we feel like our kids are safe again.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time for closing statements, 1 minute for each candidate. And we will start with Ms. Lind.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to talk to you. I have a Facebook page if you want to find that and read up a little bit more on some things I've been posting, and I'm happy to have conversation with you about any further questions. I had a million things I wanted to say, and I didn't get to very many of them, but I would like to just read as much of this poem as I can. It's Dorothy Law Nault, Children Learn What They Live. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with fear, they learn to be apprehensive. If children live with pity, they learn to feel sorry for themselves. If children live with ridicule, they learn to feel shy. If children live with jealousy, they learn to feel envy. If children live with shame, they learn to feel guilty. If children live with encouragement, they learn confidence. If children live with tolerance, they learn patience. If children live with praise, they learn appreciation. If children live with acceptance, they learn to love. If children live with approval, they learn to like themselves. If children live with recognition, they learn it is good to have a goal. If children live with sharing, they learn generosity. If children live with honesty, they learn truthfulness. If children live with fairness, they learn justice. Children live with kindness and consideration, they learn
It's a
respect.
long poem.
Oh, sorry, I got 2 more verses, or stanzas. If children live with security, they learn to have faith in themselves and in those about them. And if children live with friendliness, they learn the world is a nice place to live. Thanks for being patient.
Okay, and Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you all for coming tonight and sacrificing your time to be here. And I thank those who are watching virtually, because that's also taking time out of their evening. And everybody who's watching and everyone who's here, it just shows how much you care about our children. And if you are looking for a positive change in the school, please vote for Sarah and myself. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Grant.
So I know many of you in this audience and probably many people watching as well. And you all know what I do in this community. I'm out here because I love where I live and I really do want to make this a fantastic place. So I'm here supporting our children. I'm here supporting you as community members. I'm learning and I'm doing as much as I can in all aspects of our community to really help us be a better community and do better in our schools. So I really appreciate your support, and I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Krustowski.
As a graduate of Duanesburg High School and a resident of Duanesburg for 31 years, I have ample buy-in and reason for care and concern regarding what our children are being taught while in school. Our children are the soul of America. Schooling has a large influence on shaping our students' young minds. What they're taught at a young age molds their decisions, values, and our future society as a whole. Schools are meant for education, not indoctrination. Diversity is beautiful. Inclusion makes people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. Equality is a constitutional right that our magnificent country was founded on. We need to work together. We need to hear each other. We need to stop being so divisive. Fighting amongst ourselves only makes us weak. Let's work together to be united. Let's be the change that we want to see in the world.
Thank you. And Mr. Hughes.
I want to thank everybody that's up here tonight. The fact that we have 5 people who want to take 2 seats, and we are all very committed to that, makes me feel like when I walk out of here tonight, whatever decision's made, we're going to become a better district for it. We're going to continue to be a good district. We're going to continue to be a great district. I moved to Duanesburg 11 years ago. I didn't really have intention to have kids, and then out comes twins. From the second we got into the UPK program, which we were the first inaugural class of that, I knew that this is a place I wanted my kids to continue to go to school and learn. I love the small community. I grew up in Voorheesville back in the 80s when it wasn't a whole lot different than Duanesburg today. And I love that. And I want to make sure that we can keep this community involved in the school and keep the school involved with the community so that our kids can be in these seats one day wondering who the next school board member is going to be for their kids.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank all of the candidates for taking the time to run for the school board. I know it takes a lot of effort, and for coming tonight to answer all the wonderful questions that the audience came up with. And thank the audience for being so attentive when the candidates were answering those questions. And I would especially like to thank the PTA for all the effort they put into making tonight happen. And now let's go have some cookies.
Nice job. Yeah,